Hello beautiful people, this video is about what is definition of done in software development. So definition of done in software development is an essential part of really delivering something that is valuable and satisfactory to the customer. But the thing that's interesting for me is pretty much everything that we're doing today involves some level of software. There are very few things that we are delivering that involve large complex projects that don't require that we are also delivering some element of software with them. So we need to be able to understand the software development aspect of things and understand how definition of done plays a significant role in the success of those kinds of projects. So I want to look at definition of done as it functions as a critical alignment tool in software development, everything from backlog management to deployment. And what good use of definition of done really allows us to do is to make sure that what gets shipped meets real-world expectations and is not just alignment or completion of internal checklists. I want to look at why definition of done is essential in every part of the software development cycle. I also want to look at what a robust definition of done includes so that we have a shared definition of done, and also what not just it includes, but also what it can help us avoid and what we want to make sure that we are leveraging it to take care of in a way so that we're de-risking some of the work that we're doing. And in other videos, I've looked at how it relates to agile development, how it relates to DevOps, and how it relates to QA and to customer success. But I want to bear those in mind as we talk about it here. I also really want to look at the human element behind done, particularly in software development environments. What I see happening over time is that we are doing more complex projects. We are demanding more of our scientific development teams. We are working in environments that have the potential to be more siloed rather than less, because as our human knowledge expands and as we leverage AI to further expand that human knowledge and to give us higher levels of perception and predictability for some of the work that we're doing, we're also putting ourselves in a position where we have a much broader range of levels of expertise and knowledge within every aspect of human life. So whereas before we might have had, and I'm going to seriously date myself here when I say we might have had 3 people working on a COBOL development project. That was very early in my career, and it was a long time ago, where I was doing a lot of the coding and development, where I was doing the coding and development work. But we had small teams of people who were working on very simple systems, and they really were simple systems, but they were leveraging early stage computer technology to do some really amazing things that we weren't able to do before. We have grown exponentially since then in terms of our understanding of the technical competencies that we need to have on a project, in terms of our understanding of the education of the technical competencies we need to have on a project. Whereas before you might have had one programmer who was working in one language, you might now have 600 programmers who were working in 10 different languages and have 10 different levels of expertise and 10 different levels of areas of focus and mastery and expertise and knowledge. And that's fantastic for all of us because we get to benefit from that. But at the same time, the management of that and the tools that we use to manage that have not grown with the same speed or the same understanding as the actual elements of the project that we are managing have grown. Tools like, or frameworks like definition of done become even more important in these highly complex, highly agile, fast-moving environments. The reason why software needs not just a clear definition of done, but I think on projects multiple clear definitions of done, is that in development cycles, in complex development cycles, done can vary drastically between product engineering, QA, and end users. And so definition of done now becomes, yes, we might have a definition of done for the whole project, but I honestly think that's going to be a very moving target. But we need to have definitions of done brought down to the probably even the sprint level, and I wouldn't say down to the task level because I don't think anything should be brought down to that particular level. But I think that if we can begin to think about definition of done in the context of what we are looking to accomplish overall and who is going to declare that they are satisfied with what has been done, we now begin to see definition of done as a tool that we can use to create alignment and to create understanding and to reduce the risk on our projects. Let me talk for a moment about what I think should be in a definition of done for a software project. Code complete, that's an obvious one. Peer reviewed, another obvious one. Tested by unit or integration testing, fine, we got that too. Documentation updated, that's always a super nice to have, doesn't always get done, but something that we would like to include in definition of done because we really would like that to eventually get done. Approved by the product owner, and then I would add into that validated against the conditions of satisfaction. And by validated against the conditions of satisfaction, I mean that we have actually run that by a customer and they have declared satisfaction. Now, depending on who your customer is, if your customer is a senior executive and they're looking to be able to see the aggregate impact of multiple different bodies of code or multiple different modules of code, we're obviously not going to show them the code, and we can't say to them, hey, we're done with this particular sprint and here's the code that we produced. We need to show them how the code actually works in the particular product or tool that we're delivering on. So now we're going to have a definition of done that is a roll-up of multiple other ones. But if we see definition of done as something that we're using as a tool to be able to de-risk our project, to bring higher levels of intelligence to the table around what it really means to deliver value, and we're also now looking at customer satisfaction in the middle of this at various different levels up and down the project. We're looking at not just our definition of done, but also our declaration of satisfaction for a particular group of work that are number of modules together that have been delivered on. What we're doing in that process is we're de-risking our project success, but we are also creating an environment where we are going to do significant levels of learning. And I've seen teams shy away from doing demos because we all know demo death marches. I've seen them shy away from doing those, and I've also seen them not leveraging definition of done as a tool to be able to get them more successfully to that point, and also recognizing that part of what we're doing with conditions of satisfaction, I've done another video on this where I talk about this, but when we look at conditions of satisfaction for a customer, the more we can educate the customer, the more useful they are going to be to us in their ability to be able to define satisfaction with us. Conditions of satisfaction are not where the customer goes, this is the bar, I want you to jump this high. Conditions of satisfaction are something similar to DoD that are designed in collaboration, co-invention and co-creation with the customer. If we don't have the ability to be able to design and negotiate our shared definitions of done and our shared conditions of satisfaction, we are setting ourselves and our projects up for failure, and we are setting our teams up for massive levels of burnout. The reason why conditions of satisfaction strengthen definition of done in tech is they aren't just about feature and functionality, conditions of satisfaction, they're actually about contextual success. So if you think about a long-term project where you might have an internal customer slash sponsor who is the person who gets to see the demos, or maybe a number of people who get to see the demos, but there is one lead person in there who gets to really sign off and say, I am saying that this was satisfactory, this met our expectations and our criteria, or there was a wow factor in this that we hadn't anticipated that we are super excited about. As you start looking at that as being contextual success, you recognize that definition of done coupled with conditions of satisfaction is an opportunity for you to be able to manage and plan and design for that contextual success. Many of us work in projects where the customer is kind of this runaway train, and they're difficult for us to manage, to keep up with, to educate, to kind of keep in line with the budget and the scope and the project that we are trying to deliver on. These are tools that will allow us to be able to make progress on that path of building that level of alignment that we know we need in order to be able to deliver the project successfully without burning out our teams. So conditions of satisfaction adds the why to the definition of done, which is the what. So we are providing context at an even higher level that allows us to be able to engage differently with our stakeholders, our customers, and our sponsors for the different projects. So as you start thinking of definition of done in software development, and as you put it in the context of conditions of satisfaction in software design and development and delivery, really encourage you to look at what I refer to as the execution layer. I've written a white paper on that I think will be valuable for you as you look at how do you deliver on successful projects and how do you organize your people and think about how the work gets done. It's called Execution by Design. There's a link to it on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. And there's also a link down in the comments. If this line of thinking helps you, if this provokes questions in you or provokes thoughts in you, let me know, drop it in the comments below. This is a shift in thinking that I think will serve you powerfully long-term in your ability to be able to lead and manage projects and build your skills and capacity to increase your chances of success and to increase your chances of building highly functional, highly effective teams that deliver amazing results. If you have an ambition for doing this, I admire you and I'm here to support you, and hopefully other videos will be valuable for you as you do this. Let me know how it goes for you in the comments, and I wish you the best of luck. Take care.